All right, I'll say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right. All right. You're all so shy and withdrawn. Let us begin by reminding you that as it stands now, the probabilities of full disclosure and open contact are between now and your year of 2027. And to allow you to focus on the idea, as we explained in the last transmission, that the focusing on your year of 2027 is not simply a prediction, but something that allows you to focus on that energy, to focus on that probability, to navigate yourselves in that direction, and to manifest that as the highest probability that will come to pass. So it is something that you are actively involved in, creating to happen. So allow yourselves to focus on the idea of 2027, not just as a prediction, but as something you can be actively involved in focusing on, bringing about, actively manifesting that probability into your reality in an experiential way. Feel the reality of it. Feel it crystallizing around you day by day. You have invited us. We have accepted your invitation. So, let the party begin.
Hey, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Exciting to talk to you.
And you as well.
So it feels unsettling to me to think that even negative expressions like violence, inconsideration, or rudeness are still God knowing itself.
Everything is God knowing itself. Everything. There are lessons in everything. It's like saying there's a stream and there's a current in the stream, and I can choose to swim upstream against the current. Does that mean the current is still not God? No. The current is part of the river. So you can choose to swim upstream against the current, or you can go with the flow, with the current. Which do you prefer? Can you learn a lesson by going upstream? Yes, you might develop stronger muscles by swimming upstream. And therefore, you will be stronger when you finally let go and flow downstream. So even what appears to be negative can still be something that will aid and assist you by learning a lesson that will help you grow. Yes?
I struggle with that because...
You're struggling because you're swimming upstream.
I guess my question is, what place does integrity, goodness, service to others have in life? Why do we have to choose to do good?
You don't have to choose it. But let me explain it this way. Speaking of the idea of current. As we have explained, there is the positive, there is the negative, but there is the neutral. Reality is a trinity, not a duality. There's always the neutral place in the center. But the neutral place in the center still allows you the freedom to choose what you prefer. So in a sense, euphemistically, you could say that creation is 51% positive and 49% negative. So the idea is that if you simply relax and go with the current, you will ultimately drift into the positive side. But the idea is, if you understand that you may have chosen to come through the negative side to learn the lesson, that you can simply let go and drift into the positive side naturally, then you will have used the negative side in a way that is actually resulting in a positive outcome. So again, the idea is just to look at these things mechanically. It's not a value judgment. We understand that you can express the idea on your planet in violent ways and ways that aren't necessarily condoning the idea of perpetuating life. We understand that. But again, a soul can sometimes learn in a much more accelerated way by putting themselves in a situation where they are immersed in something that is so dark, so dense, that when they finally let go of that, they will fly that much faster into the light. We call this the rubber band analogy. Because the farther back you pull a rubber band, when you finally let it go, it snaps that much faster in the other direction. And so sometimes souls can use the negative energy, the negative mechanism, to steep themselves in such negativity that when the soul finally says, all right, I have learned all the lessons I can about this being a vibration that is not necessarily in alignment with what I ultimately prefer to be and who I really am, and they finally let go of it, then they will snap that much faster and that much farther into the light, into the flow. So you can use it that way. It's there available to you if you want to do it that way, because Source is everything and all possibilities, and it doesn't judge or devalue anything within itself. It's just a mechanism. It's not a value judgment. Only humans decide this is good or bad. So, remember, you are ultimately eternal and indestructible souls. So, in a sense, it's like looking at a play on a stage and going, well, there's the hero and there's the villain, and they're playing their parts, and they're in conflict with one another. But when the play is done, they go out and have a beer together because they're actually friends. And they're just playing a role. And without the darkness, you cannot see the light as clearly, because the darkness frames the light.
So if it is all like a role play, kind of good and bad in a sense,
yes,
then there's no incentive to be good in a sense.
There is an incentive, and that is, as I said earlier, to actually allow yourself to feel the ease of creation in going with the flow and the current of the 51% that goes in that direction, so that you can enlighten yourself literally.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Does that help you?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Take a deep breath and let it out. And take another deep breath and let it out. And take another deep breath and let it out. So also then understand that oxygenation of the system is also key. And when you are in that meditative state, the deep rhythmic breathing that is often referred to as yogic breathing is also another way to energize and amplify the vibrational energy within yourself, to be more sensitized, to be more attuned to these charts, so that when you contemplate them in that state, with the meditational, relaxed, neutral state, with the deep oxygenation of the system, that in that state you will actually glean more from those charts. Your imagination will open up to more information from those mirrors, from those reflections, from those tools. Anything you can do to balance out your body consciousness, clarify, detoxify your body consciousness, will allow you to become more highly attuned and more highly receptive to any information that these tools can help inspire within your imagination. So it is very important, along with any tools that we share with you, that you allow yourself to become the best receiver you possibly can, because it's all about ability to absorb and integrate this information, not just listen to it and let it spin in orbit around your head. Not just allow yourself to be inundated with information, but to truly absorb it. And absorption on all levels is based on the ability to remove toxins, whether they be literal physical toxins or pollutants in your body, or whether they be the idea of toxic beliefs that don't allow you to believe in something you say you prefer to believe in. So the more you can clarify what your beliefs and definitions are, what your motivations are, and the more you can actually detoxify your bodies and your cellular structures, putting into them the oxygen, putting into them the water, putting into them the proper nutrients in a natural way, the more you become highly receptive to all these levels of information that are surrounding you constantly, information constantly coming to you from us, from your guides, from other spirits, from other dimensions, from cross currents in other lives, other experiences you are having right now. Make yourselves more highly receptive by clarifying yourself as best as you can. On all levels. On all levels. That would be our strongest suggestion for the most efficacious use of the information we are downloading in this transmission. Because understand that there is much, much more information coming to you all than just what you are hearing coming out of the body sitting in front of you. There is energy patterns, all sorts of things coming to you. Sometimes you recognize this by suddenly finding an increase in synchronicity in your daily lives, because you are using the information in a way that you are not really immediately consciously aware of. Sometimes it will be that your dreams will become far more lucid and far more vivid. Sometimes it will simply be that you find yourself more capable of taking that pause and reflecting on exactly what is going on and what you are doing, and be more transparently aware of yourself. It may manifest in any number of ways, all this extra information that you may not at this point be consciously aware of, but it's there nevertheless, and you can become far more attuned to it with all the clarifying ideas we have just mentioned, both in terms of energy and psychology and emotionality and beliefs and motivation, but also in terms of body as well. Because remember, there really is no difference. And the idea really is not that your spirit is in your body is in your spirit in that sense. It's contained within it, supported by it. It's within the soul, within the oversoul. And the idea of leaving your body is not so much leaving your body as it is simply expanding your consciousness beyond that focus. So the body in that sense is really like unto a tube, a spyglass that you are looking through to experience the idea called physical reality. But when you back up, in that sense, when you remove your eye from the eyepiece, you recognize that you're holding that telescope in your hand, and that there is still a bigger reality in which the telescope exists. And that what you thought was the only reality that you saw through the eyeglass is now just a piece of a bigger reality that you are also contained within. And then when you drop that looking glass, you will recognize that you are also in a bigger reality. And another reality, and another reality. And as we have said several times, the whole idea of evolution, the whole idea, really, of spiritual growth, fundamentally, from the perspective that you are coming from, is really the process of actually awakening to the fact that you are the reality you previously thought you existed in. You actually are physical reality. You don't really exist in it. You actually are it. It's an experience in your consciousness. That's all it is. It isn't empirically real. It isn't empirically solid. And even the experience of physical reality itself contains clues that lets you know how ephemeral it is. Your own scientists, your own quantum physicists know how unsolid solid reality is. And they even balk at calling atoms solid particles, because in reality, they're not. They're just ideas. Wave forms, they may say, but waveform is really just an idea. But your reality is made up of ideas. The ideas you have of yourselves, the ideas you have of others, the ideas you have of reality. It's just ideas. That's all it is. But what a fantastic idea it has been. And now it's going to be a different idea. Just as fantastic, but different. And that's what you're creating now, really, is a new idea of yourself and therefore a new idea of what reality experience is all about. Does that make sense to you all? What is the time frame remaining for this part of the transmission? All right. Within this remaining time frame for this segment, are there now more questions or discussions with regard to the new diagram, any aspect of it, and anything we have said that requires clarification or further discussion? All right, then abide by whatever procedure you have agreed to.
Good morning, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Very frustrating issue going on.
A very frustrating issue. All right, speak up and be bold so that all may hear what you have to share.
I felt driven since the age of 12.
Oh, more driving. All right.
Surrendered 11 years ago.
Yes.
Surrender almost daily.
Yes.
Through meditation.
Yes.
However, it feels so frustrating because every time I feel closer to the source,
Yes.
it moves further away.
Absolutely.
Every time.
Absolutely. How else are you going to grow?
That's what I'm coming to. Every time I feel I've learned something,
Yes.
I immediately recognize that I've got so much more to learn.
Yes.
The more knowingness I have,
Yes.
the more I feel ignorant.
Yes.
And it is exactly, as an analogy, a magnet game.
Yes.
The satisfaction of knowingness, the satisfaction of enlightenment
Yes.
lasts for such a small moment. And to be honest with you, Bashar, I'm very jealous.
Oh, all right.
I want to have the answers you have.
But you do.
I want the knowingness.
do.
I want the knowingness. I want
You
to
do.
live in knowingness
You
every
do.
moment. I don't.
Nothing is stopping you but your idea about yourself. And the way you think you're going about it or you think you need to go about it. Nothing is stopping you from having the same access to all the same information, the same degree of ideas of knowingness. But I want to let you in on a very little secret. All the knowingness that you ascribe to us, from our point of view, is barely anything. Most of our knowingness comes from the fact that we know we don't know so very much more.
Exactly.
Therefore, in the idea that you've already described, you have in fact achieved the same kind of knowingness that we have.
But what is the point of playing a game if no one wins? You said earlier on...
What is the point of playing the game if no one wins?
Yes.
Why is it not winning enough to just play the game? Why isn't that a win that you are even allowed to play the game? That you even exist to be able to have the experience? Why isn't that enough of a win? Why haven't you already won, in other words?
I want to feel winning to the point where the light does not keep moving further and further away.
But that will never, never happen.
Why?
Because it's infinite. How can you have an end to it when it's infinite? There is no end to the game. If you actually want the game to end, the way you experience the idea of the possibility that there's an end to the game is by doing exactly what you have done. In other words, you've chosen to be a part of a physical reality where you could actually forget that the game is infinite. And thus you have made it seem as if the game could possibly have an end. But now, in playing that game, you have reversed the idea and allowed yourself to begin to remember that the game actually doesn't end. And so the only way for you to once again feel that it could end, that there might be an ending that you would arrive at, thus having won, is to once again forget that there's no such thing as an end. But you don't want to forget that now. You have got yourself completely in the center of the game of paradox. Which game do you really want to play? The one that goes on forever and is always eternally delightful and full of surprises without end? Or the one where you have forgotten and are in the darkness again playing that game? Which do you prefer?
The first, of course.
Well then.
But it leads me to the next
Yes.
challenge.
Which is?
In context of what you just explained,
Yes.
I can never really assert who I am.
Why not?
Because I'm always changing.
Yes, that's who you are. The idea of who you are is just becoming bigger, that's all. It's no longer defined in the limited way it used to be. And that's why you're uncertain of exactly right now who you are. But you'll get it. You'll understand that you're bigger. And that the idea that you're always changing is in fact who you are. You are change itself. It's one of the laws of existence. You see, the whole idea, if you wish me to put it in euphemistic terms of something that is quote unquote achievable as a win, is the recognition that ultimately what you actually are is all that is. Now, the paradox is that when you fully realize you are all that is, it will simultaneously feel like you are moving at infinite speed forever and standing perfectly still. So in that sense, you can find that there is the possibility of creating what you would call a sense of accomplishment, but that doesn't actually mean that anything is really ended. Because there's always something beyond that. Your curiosity will never die. And even if you create for yourself the experience of having won the game, arrived at the end, caught up to the light, you will then, at that moment of triumph, want something more, and there it will be. Because you are all that is, and what you say goes. So it's just a matter of what level of it you want to be aware of for whatever game is more exciting for you to play. For a while, it was exciting to think you could actually catch up to the light and be a winner. Now you're in that transitional stage where you understand that what you really want to do is understand you're already a winner just because you're playing a game that goes on forever. And oh, how exciting that is, because the fun will never end. So you're just right now kind of caught between the two ideas. And the fact that you now perceive that everything always changes is exactly the biggest clue that you need to understand who you actually are. You are change itself. All of you, all of us, we are change itself. Because that's the act of creation. And if you want to catch up to the light, recognize that you are the light. And it's always with you. That's when you catch up to it. But simultaneously will recognize you can also chase it forever. Remember, in this day and age on your planet, in this process you're going through, the realization that you're ultimately really having is it's no longer this or that, it's this and that. Both are true. What appear to be absolute opposites are both true as anything. That all ideas are true, all perspectives are true, all reality experiences are true because they're all a part of all that is. Experience it however you wish. Does that make sense to you?
It does, thank you.
Is this helping at all?
Very much. Small question.
Small question, all right.
Do animals know this better than we do?
They don't allow themselves to get so much in their way, yes. They instinctively understand this a little bit more clearly than most humans do.
Thank you.
Does that help you?
Very much, thank you.
One moment. One moment. Don't go anywhere. What animal do you identify with most strongly if you do?
Dogs.
Why?
They understand us. They have a capacity to love unconditionally.
I see. And
They're
you
very
think that that's a good
heightened
lesson to learn, yes?
Of course.
All right. Then why not love the game the way it is, unconditionally? Unconditionally. Because true unconditionality does not mean I love it unconditionally except for this one condition.
In other words, I have more surrendering to do.
You have less conditioning to do, which might be the same thing. Yes. So take a cue from the dog so you will make sure you're not barking up the wrong tree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Thank you. Okay, my question is, you talk about doing as...
Yes. I do, don't I?
Yes, you do. And it made me wonder, as an inspiration, like maybe as a model where we're going to, what do you consider doing in your reality? What I understand is a note like you hang out in your scout craft.
Hang out.
Yeah, I mean...
Like I am right now.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you spend a lot of time, in our terms, just hanging out in your scout craft? And
Well, I suppose you could say in one context, obviously, every time there is what you perceive to be a transmission of this nature, I am in repose in my scout craft.
And what were you doing just before that?
I was calibrating the electromagnetic field of your planet.
Did you spend very long at that?
Long is relative.
Okay.
In your terms, no.
Okay. You're not going to tell me much more about what you're doing, I guess.
Well, if you ask, I will.
Okay. Did you eat anything today?
No, we don't eat anymore.
Okay.
We have evolved beyond the idea of requiring solid sustenance. We now derive directly from electromagnetic energy within what you call the space-time continuum itself. We eat space-time.
But nevertheless, what I get is if you are in your scout craft
Yes.
in what appears to me to be like long linear time,
Yes.
that you're just basically a communicator and interactor with different reality frames.
That's my job.
Okay. So
I am, in that sense, a liaison, a go-between, a connector, one who makes first contact with other civilizations. I'm also a pilot, obviously, because I have a craft. And I do many other things in terms of expressions of art and other forms of creativity. But I am primarily, in your terms, a liaison for first contact.
I would get what I'm getting is for you to explain to us in linear terms what you do wouldn't totally make sense. Is that true? For instance, for you to suddenly be a creator of art,
Yes.
do you like show up on your planet to do it, or
I can.
have you?
Yes, many times.
What did you make?
I have made a large sphere that contains many segments, each of which represents, in real time, the changing fluctuations of the electromagnetic fields and the collective consciousness of every single world I am having first contact with simultaneously, which at present count is about 27.
Okay.
And by creating that piece of art, others can actually see a visual representation of the changes in fluctuation and energy between the different worlds as I am communicating with them and how they change based on those communications. They can also sense, by deriving directly telepathically from it, how those communications change our world as well. So in that sense, it's a functional piece of art.
Yeah. Well, did you build it with just intention, or with your hands, or with machinery?
I built it with a seed and intention and energy fields. In other words, on our planet, we have a particular substance that to you would appear to be a crystalline-like substance that is similar to the idea of non-differentiated cells. So in that sense, we can impose upon it a certain intention that will allow the seed to grow into the piece of art, using an energy field as its template. By growing on this energy field, which is interdimensional in nature, the piece of art, similar to our spacecraft hulls, can actually be paper thin. But they are relatively undamageable because they grow in the dimensional shape, in the shape of the dimension we have created, and thus can take no other shape. Nothing can push them out of shape, because to push them out of shape would, in a sense, be like trying to push an entire dimension out of shape. So they take their shape from the template dimension we create through our intention. It draws upon what you would recognize euphemistically as zero-point energy in order to do this, from the energy that exists in the vacuum fluctuations within space and time. Is this making any sense to you in your language?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it also reminded me of like the stem cell research we're doing here.
Yes.
So we're getting towards that state.
That is an analogy for this concept. Mm-hmm. Because these are not what you would call, in that sense, organic cells, but they have a similar non-differentiation capacity. They can be made into whatever we wish them to be made into.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to is go over the creation reality loop that you mentioned before.
Yes, the circuit. Yes.
The circuit. We were discussing it last night at some length, and
at some length? What length? 3 feet?
Yes.
Oh, all right.
And one of the things that came up was the idea that all those ideas of going from the personality construct to source, or all that is, and going back from, all
Yes.
those four things could be collapsed into any one act
Yes.
contains all those things.
Yes.
And I'd asked you yesterday to give an example. So may I give an example of what I thought?
Please.
Well, like, say the idea is a person believes that everyone should marry a woman, a man should marry a woman, that's the only source of marriage. And so a piece of experience of his would be he's getting married to a woman. That's his belief. He has the emotion of being happy about it,
Yes.
and then the action is actually doing it.
Yes.
And then that contains all those elements.
Yes.
And then using time,
Yes.
say later, he sees like two men walking hand in hand, and suddenly his belief is challenged.
Yes.
And he, now his belief goes a little bit unbalanced, and he feels like this negative energy, this negative emotion, because he doesn't believe that should happen.
All right.
And
So he is reacting based on his definitions.
right.
All right.
And so that's just another piece of another part of the feedback loop. I
Yes.
guess I was just, it makes sense to me, and it didn't at first. So,
Oh, all right. Thank you for providing an example that clarified it for you.
okay.
Does that help?
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Bashar. How's your day going?
Perfect. And yours?
Not too bad myself.
Oh, all right.
I have a question for you that I think the response, let's say you can give a 5-second response to this question.
Oh, all right.
You mentioned yesterday.
Shall I pull out my stopwatch?
Please. You mentioned yesterday that at the height of your communication with our civilization, the emotional state that you were exhibiting
Yes.
was a mere 5%
Yes.
of your ordinary day-to-day reaction.
The energy level.
The energy level.
Yes.
In a 5-second response to this audience, can you demonstrate by either word or body movement or vibration what your normal day-to-day response is on your planet?
No. It would harm the channel's body.
Okay?
The vessel would not be able to handle it. You follow me?
Yes, I do. Okay?
However, I will be happy to show you if you will meet us in dream time. Because
Okay.
there the limitations do not exist.
You're on
Thank you.
tonight. Let's link tonight. We'll do it there.
All right.
I do have a backup question, just in
A
case.
backup question.
Just in case.
All right.
Just in case I was denied this one.
Well, you are denied nothing, but
I understand.
go ahead.
On page 3 of the printout that you've provided for us, there's a picture of 2 triangles.
Yes.
Triangle 1, the top triangle, demonstrates balance and harmony
Yes.
with beliefs, emotions, and behavior
Yes.
being in sync.
Yes.
Triangle 2 represents a triangle of imbalance and chaos.
Yes.
Can you give us real-life examples of how beliefs, emotions, and thoughts are imbalanced either collectively or individually, like an unbalanced belief? What I'm looking at, let's just look at an unbalanced belief. Let's look at that part of the triangle.
All right.
I'm assuming that the midpoint of that leg represents a balanced
Well,
belief.
generally, yes. Of course, recognize there are many ways to have represented this, and this is a simplistic version for the purpose of illustration.
Okay. Well, I guess just explain the triangle. Just explain the unbalanced triangle.
Well, the idea would be that if you have a definition that you hold to be true, that somehow your existence is unworthy, then that would represent the idea of being out of alignment or out of balance with your true self. Therefore, by having an unbalanced definition, that will have a tendency to throw everything else out of balance and into chaos as well, because behavior comes from emotion and emotion comes from belief.
Okay, so is that implying that the imbalanced triangle must start with an unbalanced belief?
As far as the personality construct is concerned, generally, yes. It doesn't always have to work that way, but generally it will. Now, the reason it doesn't always work that way is that because in what you call the beginning of the personality construct in time, in other words, when you are a baby, obviously you don't necessarily come in with absolute beliefs and definitions. However, you are then using the idea more of behavior and emotion to sort of feed into your cache of believability, to feed into your depository. And these beliefs are coming telepathically from, most likely, your parents at that point. And so as they feed you food, they also feed you beliefs. And you take on and inherit a lot of their beliefs. And they feed you through behavior in that sense and telepathically, and go down through the emotionality and down into your depository in the personality construct and help you build a personality construct out of those beliefs. Then eventually, somewhere between the ages of 3 and 7 on your planet, the belief system then becomes so crystallized that the belief system then takes over from the parents and allows the personality of the child to develop from that point forward, from the beliefs through the emotions to the behavior. So it doesn't start that way, but at a very young age, it soon becomes generally locked into that methodology. Does that help?
That helps very much.
And that's why many times when a person on your planet sometimes finds difficulty in getting in touch with a belief or changing a belief, sometimes it is helpful for them to actually go back to that childlike state where they can truly unlock from it. In a sense, go back to a time before the belief itself was crystallized. So they can, in a sense, melt it down and recrystallize it in a form that works for them now in their new personality construct. Make sense?
It does. So a newborn up to age 3 is operating more on the emotional leg of the triangle.
And behaviorally. That's why a baby is all about behavior. And that's what they pick up on, is behavior. Babies are extremely sensitive to body language, because that is the first level of where telepathy is unconsciously expressed in a human, is through the behavior, through the body language. What you're actually saying, what you're actually believing, what you're actually transmitting to someone, you can see it in the body language, and most of you still have that capability if you really pay attention to it. You can tell when someone is, shall we say, saying one thing but meaning another because of their body language. You can pick up on that. In fact, even when you get good enough driving your automobiles, you begin to sense the body language of other cars, and you know exactly when a driver is about to cut you off. You could see the body language translating into the slightest motion of the car, and you knew exactly what they were going to do. So you all still possess that talent. But that is the primary way that a baby has of absorbing information, is through the telepathic contact and then through behavior, through body language. Then it starts filtering down in the idea of the emotional energy, and it starts resonating on that level, and that resonance starts building, starts using the fluid part of the personality construct, the part that's still fluid, the believability part, and it starts crystallizing patterns into that fluid, which then, somewhere, as I said, generally on average between ages 3 and 7 in your reality, becomes crystallized enough to actually start generating its own sense of cyclic behavior, its own sense of emotional pattern. And that starts reinforcing the idea of that personality up until the point, generally speaking, when you then psychically key into high psychic sensitivity on your own, which you call puberty. And that's why teenagers suddenly rebel. Suddenly all bets are off. Wait a minute. This personality that I've been fed isn't necessarily who I am in my soul. They start to actually make those connections. They have developed the personality to the point where it now suddenly recognizes it has reached a limit. And that limit now requires that it take a leap of faith, and that leap is that they have to really discover who they are. And that means they have to dive back into the soul blueprint, back to source, and reinvent themselves in the way that is now germane. Now that they have gone beyond survival mode personality level, they now have to go into creative mode personality level to reinvent themselves, regenerate themselves, and be who it is they really are with respect to the themes in the soul blueprint they actually decided to experience in this life. Not that some of them haven't begun to play out before puberty, but now they can really take a handle on their own lives, and after puberty reinvent themselves as adults. Now, of course, because of the way Earth, in a sense, has played itself out in some of the limitation games, you don't always give the teenagers the opportunity to really truly reinvent themselves. Instead, very often you actually prevent them from doing so by institutionalizing them in formats that do not allow them much creative thought. And that's why you get the idea expressed as rebellion.
I had an extremely rough time period.
Yes.
In that junior high age. That was horrible.
Yes.
And is there...
That's because you were not really given all the tools necessary to do the natural thing that needed to be done at that point, which was to truly reinvent yourself. So you did it the best way you could. And many of you are actually still doing it. What actually, and please do not take this the wrong way, it's not a judgment, and don't be down on yourselves and be depressed, please.
All right.
Many of you are still going through a process of reinvention that actually probably more often than not would normally naturally only take about a year. Nevertheless, you're doing fine.
I should have bought the manual.
This now is the manual.
Very good.
You are co-creating it with us, and that's why we are so excited to be writing this manual together with you. Because now you're really reading it, now you're really applying it, and now you really actually are becoming adults. And it's probably taken so long to get here that you're probably famished by now. So we would recommend that you might want to refresh yourselves, and after your lunch break, we will resume this connection with some more ideas to help lock these ideas in and propel you on your way. Enjoy your refreshment. We will resume contact momentarily.
Thank you, Bashar.